changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more complaining. People, their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more.
My daughter introduced me to Wordle. We played that while we were in line at Disney, and we also, my daughter is, y'all think I'm a nerd? My daughter Leah is so much more of a nerd than I am. That's why we can just talk nonstop, because as she had planned our trip to Disney, which she did a wonderful job doing, down to the last thing, but still plenty of time for spontaneity, but just really made sure that everything was thought out. She wanted to find out about the fast passes, because a lot of fast passes were actually sold out weeks, if not months, before we got there. And so she watched a 2-hour YouTube on Disney trying to control its crowd with the fast passes and the science behind it. And she got me to watch that. And it was really, really fascinating how Disney seeks to contain, I guess, or to control the ebb and the flow. And they do it so much better than Universal. I have to say that Disney's experience just head and shoulders above Universal. I was at Universal for Father's Day, Disney for my birthday, and it's just a different experience. The park is cleaner. The lines are easier. There's less crowds. I mean, the restaurants are much better. So once again, Disney, 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 and that's what we're going to talk about today, because I think it's really something fun and important for us to consider. So there are two things that I want to share today. You can see I've got a smile on my face already, because I want to make sure I do both things as I share today. In my last two speeches, I have done the setup for one of my biggest jokes and forgotten to tell the punchline in both jokes. So both speeches. So I don't want to do that with you all today. So I want to talk to you about two things. Number one, cast members at Disney, and number two, the missing dwarves. Okay? The missing dwarves. We'll get to the missing dwarves last. Cast members. If you've read much about Disney, and if you read In Search of Excellence, or if you've ever read or seen the writings of Tom Peters, who wrote In Search of Excellence, he talks about Disney. Disney is just a company that is going to make sure you have an excellent experience from the second you get on property to the second you get off. And they make sure that it's just stellar. I mean, as you're leaving, a lot of amusement parks might have somebody standing at the gate doing this, as you're leaving. And that's a big thing. At Disney, they've got people who are genuinely smiling, saying, well, they're wearing masks, but you can see it in their eyes. Thank you for coming, friends. Hope to see you again real soon. Hope you had a great time. And that's all they do for hours as people are leaving. And it's so genuine. So what is the magic of Disney? And there's tons of books, and I've read lots of books about how Disney does what Disney does. The main thing is, and you'll notice in our title today, are you properly cast? Disney has no employees. Disney has 0 employees. And Lee and I were talking about this as we stood in line, because Leah had planned a different restaurant for us to eat in, of course, because we were in a different park. There are 4 parks at Disney. And she had booked us lunches at these different restaurants. And at every restaurant, we got an excellent meal, which Disney didn't have to do because you're a captive audience. And we agreed, fairly priced, and the service was excellent. By excellent, just friendly, just genial, just taking care of you, just checking in on you, just no problem. Anything is no problem. So it was just amazing. Now, Disney has no employees. The waiter is not an employee. The kid who, drives the jungle boat is not an employee. The person sweeping up the park is not an employee. The person in the Pumbaa suit going around on the pontoon boat in Animal Kingdom is not an employee. They are cast members. Take that in, okay? You've got a production and you want to cast it, all right? You begin with the production in mind. Broadway show, a production, you cast the roles. A movie, you've got a production in mind. You've got it clearly storyboarded. Then you cast the roles. So first and foremost, there's an intention there on Disney's part. The second thing is that the role that a person is cast into, first and foremost, is to give the guests, and by the word, guest must always be capitalized at Disney, capital G, guest. The guests must always have a magical, exceptional experience. No matter what you're going through, no matter what is happening, we saw rides break down. We got up to the very beginning. That one day it was cold, and we stood in line in the cold. Got literally up to where we were the next ones to get on the ride, and the ride broke down. And we stood there for, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. It was funny because we picked this ride because it had a short wait. And then they had to shut the ride down. There was a problem. And the way they handled it was magical. They immediately gave us a fast pass on another ride that was had a short line. So it was just great. People are cast into roles, and the moment they put on their costume for their role, they are to enter into that role. I remember this one server. His name was Thomas. He was our waiter at, can't remember the restaurant. But the food was excellent, as I said. And this guy looked like Louis Anderson. You know, the comedian who passed away recently, big and heavyset and red-haired. But he had this just angelic smile all the time, and he seemed very chill. That's the other thing, the Disney employees, and they're cast into a role. So what do you do once you cast someone into a role? You rehearse. You rehearse, you rehearse, you rehearse. The training at Disney is absolutely incredible. Not so much on how to run a particular ride, although that is very, very important. The training on how to deal with capital G guests and crying babies and people not wearing masks and things like that. Disney is serious about the mask thing. And we noticed that 99.5% of people wore the masks inside. They only enforce it inside anything, like a store or a ride. And it was interesting because we got off of, was it Space Mountain? I think it was Space Mountain. And there was a guy having strong words with a Disney cast member. And the cast member, he was trying to rile the cast member up, trying to upset this person, this man. And the man was just not allowing it to happen. It was like you could tell this dude had been trained what to do when someone gets in your grill. And the funny thing was, the reason the guy was upset, they wouldn't sell him that picture that they take on the rides, you know what I mean? They flash you at some point, and then they try and sell you the picture for $15 usually. But they wouldn't sell him the picture because the guy had pulled his mask off to have the picture made in the middle of the ride on the thing. And Disney was so serious. And then they brought the manager over, and I was listening at a distance how the manager handled it very professionally. They rehearsed these people. They cast them into a role, and then they rehearsed them. So before I get into the missing dwarves, I want to talk to you about the roles that you are cast in. And more importantly, to realize that we have a lot of choice in the roles that we are cast in, more so than we think. And are we performing at a Disney-like level in the roles that we are cast in. And this, one of the things I'm loving about listening to The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles every day is this idea of, oh, don't go away, thought. It'll come back. Oh, yes, that we don't have to do things grandly. We just have to do little important things every single day. And that creates the life that we want, attracts what it is that we say that we want to become or have or do. So we have roles. I have a role of dad. I have a role of boss. I have a role of teddy friend. I have a role of friend. I have a role of thought leader. I have a role of speaker. I have lots of roles. And I cast myself in those roles, in those circumstances. I cast myself in those roles. And how can I perform at more of a Disney-like level? I think that there's a loop in amusement parks a lot of times. You get people there who are stressed and excited and everything else. And that gets conveyed to the employees, and the employees convey it back. And whereas at Disney, the employees just, I said employees, didn't I? Cast members absorb it. They know how to absorb and to deflect what is happening. So, are you, and the other question is, are you properly cast in the roles you're in? Are you in the right production? In other words, are you hanging out with people who are inspiring you to do and to become more and better than you are? Or are you hanging out with people who are detracting you from becoming more in what you want to be? These are good questions to ask. So we're cast members. Think of yourself as being in roles, because we're not our roles. We are more than our roles. I was talking with someone yesterday who just kept wanting to ask me questions about my business, and that's fine. I'm happy to share with you how my speaking organization works and how we find places for me to speak that match with me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm a lot more than that. I have other roles. Talk to me about my role as a dad. You know, if you want to see me shine, you want to see me get bright and happy, ask me about that. So we have these roles in our life. So I want you to think about that you're in a role, that you're in roles. Ask yourself if you're properly cast, and ask yourself, are you giving a Disney-like presentation of yourself? For many years, I thought that I was, when it came to being a leader of other people, business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But my way of leading was not a bit. I was a micromanager. I thought my way of conveying interest was to always be asking niggling little questions about things. No. Just make sure that everything is moving in the right direction and people are happy, and people will surprise you with what they can do. So now let me tell you about the missing dwarves. And this is your chance. I'm going to turn the comment section back on. And this is not for you to comment on anything except this one thing. I'm going to ask you a question if you're here with me live, or you can do it if you're watching later on as well. But I'm going to ask you a question. I walked around all 4 Disney theme parks, covered them fairly well. That was one of the things Lee and I talked about. And at the end of one day, we had walked 7.3 miles. We walked somewhere between 6 and 8 miles. That's how I was able to, my weight is exactly what it was the day I left, even with eating candy and stuff like that. So I walked all over there. Now, I was looking for 7 Dwarfs t-shirts. I've been to Disney many times. I've seen 7 Dwarfs t-shirts, typically in the Magic Kingdom, right? And I saw lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different character t-shirts, etc. And I did see one of the 7 Dwarfs represented on a t-shirt. So I want you to tell me, the other 6 are missing, all right? Only this one of the seven dwarfs I saw available on a t-shirt. So you can go ahead and start to guess, but I'm going to add more to that. And that is that I saw it in every single theme park. I saw it in most of the stores. I saw this 1/7 dwarf in every single one of the theme parks, in almost all of the souvenir stores. In some permutation, I saw this t-shirt. So this dwarf. So who do you think of the seven dwarfs? Go ahead and comment. Oh, Ed, I'm looking forward to seeing back what you have to say. Anybody want to guess before I tell you who the 1/7 dwarf is, who is ubiquitous in Disney World? The answer is, Kathy got it. Nope. Kathy got it. No, oh my God. See, you guys are so wonderful. Y'all are so positive. It would never occur to you. Kathy sort of guessed at it, and then she changed. Here we go, Rebecca. Heather says yes. Yes, yes, yes. Kathy guessed grumpy, and then she goes laugh out loud, or maybe happy, one of those. See, I wanted a dopey shirt. I just think dopey's funny. Linda guessed dopey. David says happy. See, this is what I mean, Maya. Now we're starting to get into it. Rebecca, grumpy. Grumpy, Heather. Yes, exactly. Grumpy is the only one of the seven dwarfs that I saw. I saw him on jackets, I saw him on t-shirts, I saw him on hats, and I saw him in pretty much every one of the souvenir stores all the way around. The other six are missing. The other six are missing. Why? Because we think it's funny and okay to be grumpy. We think this is the opposite of complaint-free living. This shows you just how badly people need the complaint-free challenge. Happy, gone. Even dopey, who's just dopey and happy, gone. Doc, smart. Oh, we don't want smart. Bashful. We can take or leave bashful, and I know I'm leaving one or two out. But grumpy's okay. Grumpy's not okay. Grumpy's not okay. So I realize there's a lot in today's JumpStart, getting back into today's JumpStart, and don't cast yourself as grumpy. Cast yourself as happy. If you're going to be one of the seven, cast yourself as happy. That's what you want to be. Heck, even cast yourself as dopey or Doc or spin through them all. Grumpy's not okay. And since I said grumpy is not okay, be sure and like, comment, and share. That's how we build this positive online community.
No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more complaining people. Their lives are changing.